University, Thane Rosenbaum. He joins us, as well as constitutional lawyer and civil litigator Bruce DeValle, and also, of course, joined by our special guest here today and host, she's a former federal prosecutor, Katie Cherkasky. An appeals court delaying ex-prosecutor Mark Pomerantz's deposition on the Trump investigation. Pomerantz worked on the DA's investigation into the former president. He resigned last year and then went on to publish his own book about it. Thane, what's the significance of this delay?
Well, you know, this new agreement that apparently the district attorney has reached has said that he's going to make Pomerantz available in May, which, as far as I can see, John, means that he's dropping the lawsuit to prevent the interference, his alleged interference of the Jim Jordan's committee. Pomerantz is dangerous to Bragg. Remember, Bragg does not want Pomerantz's testimony for the world to hear, because they're going to say to him, you saw the Stormy Daniel case when you were a prosecutor in Bragg's office. You looked at it, you rejected it as a legitimate case, and you decided to take a different case instead. Bragg didn't want that case. You left and wrote a book about it. Can you tell the committee why you thought the Stormy Daniels case was baseless? Tell us why you didn't want to bring it. Now, that would be incredibly damaging to Bragg, because Bragg says, this is the case that I'm running with. This is the one I'm bringing to the dance. But the prosecutor that knew it best looked at it, ignored it, wanted a different case, resigned over it, and wrote a book about it. So it's interesting. Remember, Pomerantz is like a hush money case, right? He was basically saying, I'm willing to bring a lawsuit to stop you from testifying. So why he's now agreed to let him testify in May, I really don't know, John, but it makes me think that the lawsuit is over, or that Pomerantz assured Bragg, you know what, I'm going to refuse to answer any questions. I'll show up, I'll wear a tie, but don't worry, I won't answer any questions. Last thing I would say about that, you know what the problem with that approach, John? He already wrote a book.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really claim I have client confidences or prosecutorial confidentiality when you went and wrote a book about it.
Katie, do you believe that this hearing was simply a one-day partisan food fight, or do you think that there's going to be a ripple effect in the months ahead?
No, I think it was really important to make it clear that this prosecution in Manhattan is not just a state prosecution. It is something that Congress has a direct interest in. There's federal funds involved. There's big questions about the motivations behind this prosecution that looks very political, and that's because it is very weak on the criminal side as well. So absolutely, I think that the appeal was dropped because there was going to be a requirement that Pomerantz testify. I think there's relevant information there, and I'm not surprised to see that the DA's office is going to reluctantly cooperate at this point.
And we do have Bruce DeValle. He joins us now. I'm going to turn to you, Bruce, get you in on the conversation here. We're going to get the Judiciary Committee's appearance in New York earlier this week. We saw so much emotional testimony from the victims and families of crime here in New York City, with the rates that are skyrocketing. Bruce, what's your overall impression of how this hearing went, and how can Democrats still deny this is a huge problem, not just in New York, but there's cities all across America that are dealing with this crime too?
Well, thank you. That's a great question, and thanks for having me on. It went pretty much like most congressional hearings. There were some spectacular moments. There was a little bit of boredom. But I think that Democrats' denials are purely partisan and purely political. And on the issue of DA Bragg allowing Pomerantz to testify, that's absolutely extraordinary, because the Constitution is very clear. Under the Speech and Debate Clause, he has to testify because this is a valid congressional hearing, and courts cannot limit congressional subpoenas. Cut and dried. End of story. Mm-hmm. This case that Bragg filed is absolutely frivolous. He should be sanctioned for it. So Pomerantz has to testify whether Bragg allows him or not. I think DA Bragg's getting too big for his britches, which, by the way, could probably have their own area code anyway, because he just thinks he's overly important. He doesn't seem to understand fundamental concepts of the law.
Thane, how do you think this is going to impact Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg?
You know, John, I've always thought that this is a very unusual case, because normally prosecutors don't want to lose, ever. They don't want to see cases blow up in their face. But this case, from its origins, was destined to fail. So the question is, what's he doing? And I think he's rolling the political dice, not the legal dice. He's saying Donald Trump is so profoundly unpopular in my city, and I'm the district attorney for this city. No one will even care if there is no good outcome legally in terms of criminal sanctions against him. I'm the first prosecutor that brought charges against Donald Trump. And that's what people will remember me by here. Now, it may backfire everywhere else around the country with Trump supporters who will be galvanized by this illegitimate prosecution. But he may say, you know what, it'll get me elected in New York City, and that's all I care about.
And Bruce, what do you think? Do you feel the same way? What's next for Bragg?
Absolutely, I feel the same way. I think that he's following in the regrettable scenario that we see where prosecutors are using their office to audition for a bigger office. And that's absolutely it is absolutely improper. It is terrifying, to be honest with you. The prosecutorial indiscretion is the greatest threat to individual liberties that I think we're seeing. Oh, and by the way, Pomerantz and the tell-all book, the Democrats were very quick to hoist Mark Meadows and Peter Navarro on that petard and say, hey, you have to testify. You told everything anyway. So Pomerantz can't hide behind that. Once again, Bragg doesn't have the power to let him testify. That's absolutely absurd.
Thane, Bruce, Katie, appreciate all of your time here and your thoughts. We have more Saturday Agenda coming up after the break.